Welcome to our virtual Expresso Extra Shots Funding Female Founders. Today we have a power-packed consortium of investors and senior founders with us today. And we're going to have 4 female founders pitching to us as well. Let's start with the introductions. We have Aditya Ghosh, who's Chief Mentor Ladies Who Lead. Hi, Aditya. We have Archana with us, who's Managing Partner, Rookman Capitals. Has Sid joined? I'm just checking. And we have Sid Talwar, who is partner Lightbox. For our senior founders and mentors, sorry, is Sid here still? No, I think he'll join. Okay, for our senior founders who also will be mentors today for our founders who will be pitching, we have Preeta Sukhtankar, who's the founder and CEO of Label Life. We have Shashank Mehta, who's the founder and CEO of The Whole Truth. Hi, Shashank. Nidhi Kumra, who is the CEO of Your Space. I think Nidhi is on as well. And Vivek Narain, who is the founder and CEO of the Quorum. Hi, Vivek. And we have with us also Saroja, who's a co-founder and CEO of Melorra, who has a hugely inspiring story. So Saroja, can we start with a couple of words from you on your journey and raising this large round last, I think 2021, right? In October.
Am I on mute? I'm not able to.
No, you're not on mute.
Okay, good. Oh, great to be here. So thank you for inviting me, Anisha, and I don't think Abha is on the call, but both
no, Abha's not on the call today with us. But thank you for joining us.
So yeah. So actually great to be part of this discussion, and I immediately accepted Abha's invitation the moment she said female founders. You know, that's to women entrepreneurs are growing, and whatever we can do to encourage their ambitions, and I think it's the era of Shark Tank. Would like to see more women pitching on Shark Tank as well.
Next question is how to manage pain of non-POA clients in case of physical.
I'm hearing some voices.
Yes, can we mute, please?
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, so I'm not sure that my story is that inspiring. It's still work in progress. Anisha, that's how I always talk about my story. We're still a really small company. We've been growing well, but we're still a pretty small company compared to many other companies and what we can be, and I really am not saying it with any false immodesty, but truly from my heart. And I think it's a great time to be an entrepreneur, and perhaps my timing was right, but I don't want to mislead anybody from your founder team saying that, look, it's been an easy ride. It hasn't been, it hasn't been an easy ride. Every day is a struggle. All fundraisers are challenging, a lot of sleepless nights happen, and it's constant. However large you grow, however big you become, it is just never ending pressure of one kind or the other. But before I dissuade everybody to stop their entrepreneurial ambitions, maybe I should switch gears and make it a little bit more positive, I guess. So yeah, so of course I have a lot of experience before I started my entrepreneurial journey, and these days it's okay to be an older generation founder. Earlier we used to hide that fact, but thanks to Falguni making it very popular to be an older founder. So 25 years of corporate background, worked in Titan, helped build Tanishq in India, Titan in India, Dell in India, Kaya in India. And then I decided back in 2014, late 2014, that I want to start my entrepreneurial journey, and the person that backed me to the hilt from the start is none other than Siddharth Talwar, who's also on this call. So let me take a moment to thank him for all his belief in me and the business that I have been building from day one till now. He's been a super supportive. I always tell founders, if you can get Sid to invest in you, you have a partner and friend for life, because he is definitely one of the most founder-friendly investors in this country. Yeah, now Sid has decided to run a video so we can see he's blushing and all, but that's okay. So, that's how the journey started for me. And unusually, it was on a business plan. And, thanks to Sid's faith in our business idea, and perhaps equally my background and my suitability to what I was building with Melorra, we did raise India's largest seed round. That was the easy part. Everything else after that has been
the easy part.
Actually, that was the round which was the easiest for me, because literally Sid was the only investor that I have met, So, and of course, everybody in the ecosystem had frightened the hell out of me, saying you have to pitch to 120 investors before you can be offered a term sheet and all of that. And I was just preparing to meet the other 119, but I think Sid was quick, And in fact, I dragged out the negotiations, as he will tell you, and he was prepared to move even faster. So yeah, so it took about 6 months or so to get the money in the bank, and that's how we started. I think one of the important lessons, and I'll keep sharing some of the lessons. Actually, why don't you tell me how much time I have? I don't want to cut into the real agenda of this call.
You have a couple of minutes, and we'll switch to. I wanted to also introduce Aparna. She's also just joined.
Anisha, I just do want to say I have a hard stop at 7.
No worries, we'll be done.
Thanks.
So anyway, I think it's been a great journey since then, and we've raised a lot of money over the years. But at the same time, I don't like headlines with say 200, 300 million and so much money has been raised. And unfortunately, the media covers that part rather than how big you are, or how you're improving your profitability, or how profitable a business is. Headlines today are all about the quantum of money, which means that founders are thinking more about how large the round should be than how to run their business in a capital efficient manner. Right. But yeah, we have been able to raise, I think that was our 5th round since I started. And now we are at a different scale and size. So it's becoming easier and easier to raise money. I think at the end of the day, if you focus on your business and you have a good, strong vision, you have a large market opportunity, and finally, clarity of thought and purpose matters the most for all entrepreneurial journeys, right? And there are too many people that will come and give you advice and do this, do that, and all of that stuff. But at the end of the day, you are the person. The buck stops with you, and that's something that every day when I sit in my chair, I remind myself that I am the CEO, and investors have invested in me, and they have not invested in each other. So one has to be very, very, very clear that you are the person making the decisions. Here, listen to a lot of people, always listen to people, always learn. That's really, really important. But never forget that finally the buck stops with you, So yeah, I mean, we are still raising more money. We'll continue to raise money. So the last round was a good round for us. We were oversubscribed, and hopefully the round we're working on will also get oversubscribed soon. And yeah, as the business builds, as you have the numbers, initially it is storytelling, but later on, nothing can replace solid business numbers. So never again forget that. To all of you women that are building a business, women, men, whoever the entrepreneur may be, numbers do the talking. Numbers do the talking more than anything else. So always focus on your business numbers, and you can't go wrong, because all investors, and especially today is a good day to remind us all, right, with what's happening globally and in India, that if you have a good business model, if you've always focused on profitability, unit economics, we have the largest margins in the industry, and I'm sure Sid will bear out the fact I've never taken my gaze off profitability and unit economics and margins, we could grow much faster by giving much higher discounts, but we choose not to do that. And so profit and unit economics will always be in fashion. Even if your investors are telling you it's not in fashion, don't listen to them, because these boom and bust cycles will come and go, and you have to be focused on strong business delivery. So that's it. I think I've taken more than my fair share.
Thank you so much, Saroja. I'm just going to quickly introduce Aparna, who's just joined us. Aparna is a founder of Serenity Capital Advisors and also Wiki BCC funding leads. It's great to have you. Sid is also here. Let's start with the pitches. We have Rakhee Vaswani, who's going to go first. Rakhee is a chef and founder of the Palate Culinary Studio, Culinary Academy, sorry. Rakhee, on to you.
I can't see myself though. Yeah, okay. Hi, am I audible? Am I audible?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Hi. Good evening, everyone. And before I say anything, Saroja, I love that last part. That's what I actually believe in also as an entrepreneur. That's the first thing when my husband, gifted me my business years ago and said like, hey, this is a gift. And I said, no, the business needs to fend for itself. And that is something I really love. So first of all, good evening, everyone. I'm Chef Rakhee Vaswani, and I'm a founder of Palate Culinary Academy. We're an international academy, and we bring in two UK international accreditations because right now, as we see, the change and the trend in the market has drastically improved. Years ago, I would find myself getting a lot of international training, but we never had that kind of a scope back in India. So we're one of the boutique international academies where we've brought in the first CTH certification. In fact, we're very proud to say, because India is so much about vegetarian and eggless, we've actually had them chalk out an international UK program for us from CTH. So we have UK accreditations from CTH and City and Guilds. When I say boutique, it's been a passion project. As we've seen a lot of change happening in India, we are now a market where it's more entrepreneur driven. So brands are gaining a lot of, the entrepreneur driven brands are getting a lot of, recognition, and they're scaling up. So I would literally like to go the same way. And in a brief moment, I would say a little about the business as well. So if everyone's got the pitch, just to name a few, Ritu Kumar, Vandana Luthria, even Ravindran from Byju's is actually a teacher. And of course, Chef Sanjeev Kapoor from the industry, everyone knows. But moving on, now I bring to you brand Rakhee. So my model is all about, like I said, it's all about the business. Like Saroja even said, it's all about you. It's you that, bring everything on the table, even if the investors are on board. So for me, it's always been like that with all the international training, being an author, being a mother, taking the school to the international level. We have a lot of collaborations with embassies, with your France, London, UK, USTA. We're working with some of the top embassies in the country who are absolutely in sync and in synergies with our institute. Of course, TV and brand endorsements is something we've done along the way. Moving on to a lot of celebrities, which is something India really looks up to at a lot of times. So yes, that's something really amazing. And there've been some amazing celebrities who've actually given me that boost also. So yes, very happy. Students who are successfully now from our institute actually, gaining a lot of work experience and working internationally as well as in India. That is our concept. Of course, international chefs we've hosted. So a little synopsis of what our school does, a little bit of media, and moving on to what is Palette all about. Boutique international courses with 4 revenue streams is what we're looking at. Um, Offline, online, merchandise, and endorsements. Yes, the pandemic taught us that online is something that everyone never knew how to do these things, like meetings like these. I'm sure we never did any of these, but yes, now we found ourselves being there. So did jump onto that, covered the whole market, decided even in the pandemic that, hey, we need to survive, we need to exist. And that was the model. But the scalability is in huge numbers. And that is something which we've now looked at in bigger numbers, because a company like, an academy or Graphies has absolutely, taken us on board, invited us a couple of times, but that's something we are not looking at going, because hey, we have a whole institute that we can send up. So the online is something we're looking at, like a whole model for all genre. We've done a lot of workshops with brands, whether it's at Palette, whether it's international brands like California Walnuts, with the Taste of America, with USDA. We work with the US Agricultural Food and Agricultural Department. Offline, another very a unique model, which stands on quality, boutique, because I think we've all seen that shift where we were in schools and we were in large numbers, and now everyone moves more towards smaller batches, A to Z. The model of Palette is customization, kind of ticking all the boxes, making sure that a boutique personalized batches, latest curriculum, because all we've seen over the years is, the hotel management. I think everyone in the industry, many of them don't even know the difference between a hotel management and culinary arts per se, or, a bakery patisserie program. So what we look at is, with these two international accreditations and skilled programs, the shortage of skilled programs is what we're looking at, bridging that gap and taking it to the next level. And we have seen chefs going in even at the Michelin star level. At the current moment, we are just doing a couple of certified courses, but of course, sky's the limit, and that is definitely what we're looking at. The industry exposure is what they get, whether it's national or international. So that's a guarantee we look at. A lot of events. We've worked with a lot of universities in India and internationally, lots of big brands. Moving on to another revenue generation, of course, which is your endorsements, which is with almost of all the brands. Wouldn't name them, but they're all there. But yes, we are looking at the model of, maybe a Jamie Oliver, Nigella, Martha Stewart. We've got so many examples in the, and why go so far? We've got, Chef Sanjeev Kapoor, so why go there? But yes, we don't have a female one there, so definitely we are moving towards that direction. Then moving on to the merchandise, and that is where the big guns are, definitely. And currently we're in talks with a lot of brands that we've had on board, whether it's a Calibao, we've got Philips, we've got Smeg, which is Italian, we've got Godrej, we've got Philips, a lot of cookware, appliances, Middleby, Self-Frost, is something we're looking at, and we are in talks with such brands for the merchandising, because hey, the pandemic taught us this, that whether you're working from home, or you're going into office, or you're online, we never stopped purchasing, and that's where the buck doesn't stop, so it just goes escalating, and that's what we're looking at. We've named a few brands that we have worked with. These are just a few, because there are many more, but we leave some for the next time for sure. So yeah, Palate Culinary Academy has a lot of international certifications. We've got more than 150, or could say 200 workshops. So we could actually have like a whole institute, starting from a 5-year-old, going into ABCs, going into amateurs, professionals, corporates. We've worked with Schneider Electric, UK Westmill, Roche, to name a few. These are workshops which are blended programs. They are online, and of course the reach is really big. I could just put a number of students, but honestly that number is really something not yet even reached. It's There's a lot way to go to, and we have a lot in the opportunities, a lot. CDH and City and Guilds is our two UK accreditations. We're definitely looking at getting more on board. And yeah, the next thing that we're talking about is the vision. So again, very inspired by Saroja. What I would like to conclude and say is that the hospitality has seen a huge demand internationally and in India. In fact, we are seeing a lot of institutes, like even like an ITC, tying up with the international, hospitality universities and schools. And that's the gap. We tend to bridge the gap. And I think quality, the knowledge of ingredients, techniques, all those kind of things, you make your student ready to go out there. That is what me and Palate stand for. My vision, definitely. The best way to predict the future is to create it. And that's what we're looking at, an institution, a brand where you can take only one step, learn, grow with only the best in a very systematic program. It's customized, you achieve your goals. That is exactly what we want. We want to be the A to Z, and we are very proudly saying that it is a profitable business right from start. From last 13 to 14 years is what we've managed to survive even in the pandemic. And Ladies Who Lead is definitely something which is giving me that platform. So I say, as they say, one size doesn't fit all. So definitely it's Palate Culinary and brand Rakhee, and together we create the future.
Thank you so much, Rakhee. Any feedback, investors? Anyone has any questions for Rakhee, senior founders?
What's the revenue, Rakhee? What's your monthly revenue?
So we actually, sorry, hi, I can't, who's asking that? The name, if I could address you?
Archana.
Archana Jagirdar from Rukum. Sorry, my phone for some reason doesn't take my name, so sorry.
I think we've sent in the numbers in the pitch.
Archana, I sent it to you right now. It's on the deck that I WhatsApped to you right away.
Rakhee, quick question. How many courses do you run, and then and typically what size is the course? How would you scale up these courses to get enroll more and more people? And like you said, you want to be the A to Z of the whole thing. How do you ensure that somebody who's gone through the entire program, are you then connected to the hospitality space, helping them get placements?
Yes. I'll answer that. So like I said, we have the online as well as the offline. The offline ones are the UK accreditations, which right now, like I said, we have around 5 courses. We have a level 2 award culinary, which is a 90-hour program. We have a certification. So basically it's a basic, intermediate and advanced, maybe going up to a 6-month diploma. And what I mean by A to Z is, again, boutique. So our batch sizes, as opposed to competitors in the industry, if you've seen, we know there's a hotel management or huge universities and colleges, the government-aided colleges. So there, the curriculums, as we all know, is definitely a little, backdated. What we look at is boutique. So state-of-the-art kitchens, collaborations with the best industry people from Marriott to Taj to Oberoi. And like I said, if you've seen my pitch, we put pictures of, that's a student of mine who's actually in France right now. So we're very happy to say that what we do is we do a very intensive 6-month program where we include an internship. And like I said, A to Z, we get them to go into the industry. Some of them want to go in India only. So the collaborations with all the hotels is there. The collaborations with all the brands, because they definitely are working with those kind of ingredients, equipments. My training model is knowledge of ingredients, equipments, and techniques, because that's what sets them apart. Because right now, as we see, we get students from tier 2 cities, because there's a big scope over there as well, even in the pandemic we have. And what suits them is because we're boutique. So fortunately, the pandemic actually has worked better for us, because all the other institutes we've seen in the market are doing a batch size of 14 to 25, as opposed to we do somewhere between 8 to 10. And then obviously in the pandemic, we were literally into the 6. So actually, we didn't have to wait longer to start our courses. Now, churning the numbers, as we know, we need to work out the profitability. But what we prefer to do is we go more in the batches. So the achievement of the numbers and the results is already there. We look at anywhere between 70 to 80 students in a year. Our batches, like I said, that's one of the things. And the courses are like, we have a whole culinary section and we have a bakery patisserie. And internationally, we're tied up with UK, we've got Canada, we've got France. We actually have sent students, and we're very proud to say our students are actually getting rehired there by their sponsors. They're getting sponsored to train more for their further studies into France also.
Sorry, let me just jump in. While we're not discussing financials in interest of confidentiality, do any of the investors have any questions for Rakhee? Vivek, Shashank, even you guys can chime in, similar industries.
Rakhee, this is Aarti here. I have a query. When you're talking about accreditation with the UK culinary schools, is cost the factor that would bring a tier 2 student to you and not directly to the UK culinary school?
That's a lovely question. So honestly, I just want to say this one line. So so internationally, of course, is something we all look at training. Whenever our children also grow up, we send them abroad, but we all know the money that cost. So our international courses are literally at a fraction, as opposed to when you're sending your child abroad. Obviously, we're looking at, even if you're looking at a Le Cordon Bleu or you're looking at a Roche, you're looking at big numbers. You're looking at definitely somewhere between 50 to 60 lakhs. But you're actually, the student from the tier 2 cities here are learning that at a fraction of a cost. Along with that 6 months program, what they get is they're actually getting a placement, the internship, which is a paid internship. As we all know, internationally, the numbers are very different when these students are actually working. So they get their stay there, the working hours are lesser. It's 40 hours in France. If you look at, even in UK, you've seen the numbers, even in Canada. So they get a combination of dual programs, learning, scaling up further, learning further, and taking care of themselves. So honestly, that is one of the reasons. Of course, the quality. So we've seen that churning over, because we've seen the comparison where they like these customized programs. They like the counseling that they go through with us, and they like this hand holding and reaching out to, where they want to reach to. So it does make a lot of difference. The money, of course. And
Suparna,
Of
sorry.
course, I guess the counseling. Thank you. Thanks, Dr.
Hi, Rakhee. This is Suparna. Firstly, congratulations. I mean, you've had an amazing journey and endorsements from a lot of people and a lot of students, and from these universities. Is there any comparable businesses, in India, that you aspire to be? And what do you think is the market, for this space?
Okay, so yeah, there are businesses in India which are of a similar character, but the size and this are definitely different. I don't want to be like anyone. That's not something I do. So yeah, that's why we're boutique. And most of these institutes, if you want me to name them.
No, I mean, just wanted to know a size, a similar size company,
Yes, there are. In fact, there are bigger. So I'm very boutique.
Yeah.
And I think we all know, in fact, a couple of years back, I kept thinking, why am I always, so it is a profitable business, but you're always wanting to do more. The
Right.
reason why we're doing this is definitely because I can do more, but there's always a limit that you can do it at. So yeah, there are many stated in Delhi, in Mumbai. Also, we have competitors in Bangalore. There are lots of international institutes doing similar courses, but I'm the only one with the 2 UK accreditations. There are ones, a lot of them are doing the City and Guilds, because as we all aware, City and Guilds was actually, in a JV with Manipal for over the years. So they did a lot of collaborations in Bangalore. In fact, we've seen other institutes which are literally 3 floors, and I'm only 1 floor in Bombay on Linking Road. But like I say, so if that institute maybe would be doing, if we're all talking about numbers with not the extra zeros, if they're doing 120 in a year in a boutique, in a bakery program, which is definitely not boutique with the big numbers, I kind of cover 70 in a smaller space. So it's all about the permutation combination.
Yeah, sounds fair.
So there are definitely, and the scope is huge. The tier 2 cities, it's huge.
Especially
even if
online,
not,
I think what you're targeting, these.
Rakhee, I have a question.
Vivek,
Yes.
yeah.
Hi, this is Vivek, Narain. I'm part of a hospitality business myself. I'm wondering how much of your curriculum is practical versus theory, and does that pose a problem for your scale, especially since it seems like you're going after a wide audience in different markets, and how do you balance and address that issue?
Thank you, Vivek. I really am happy, and that's a lovely question. So very clearly, I have 2 different models. We have the online one. The online is clearly looking at currently all the other genre of people. It's like, all your hobby workshops, professional workshops as well. But the offline is the one which is the boutique model, and that is 100% practical. Of course, there is theory, and that theory is something which is a part of the curriculum, so we do need to train them that. And like I said, actually the pandemic was kind of a boon for us, because like I say, the size is a smaller amount in a classroom. We only stick to 6 to 8 in a batch. That's why the scalability. So it's just because I have lesser in numbers, but not that I don't have the time and the hours, right? I have those many, I have the classrooms. All I have to do is just do the calculation of the number game. And that's why it's all practical, all trainee, all hands-on. and a lot of internship. And we'll be very proud to tell you that, in fact, our students have gone into Taj also now in this recent times interning. They've been taken over at the HOT program even without an internship. Because, like I said, the training is all practical. It's about the knowledge of ingredients, equipments, and techniques. The brands that I have displayed, there are only a few that I have, but we make sure that when a student goes in front in a kitchen in a hotel, which is in France, or in a very small Swiss chalet in France, in a hotel in Dubai, or in an Oberoi here, they are not intimidated because they are working with the same kind of equipments. They're working with the same ingredient people and partners, the importers, as opposed to this, and this. So I am a teacher, and it's a little bit of a passion project, but time to take the numbers bigger, but making sure it's the same concept.
Thank you, Vivek, for that. Sid, Aditya, any questions?
Rakhee, if I may, sorry.
Oh, sorry, Shashank. Go ahead. Yeah.
No worries. Thank you. Okay, so Rakhee, hi, Shashank here, founder of The Whole Truth, very, very young on the entrepreneurial journey. So not going to comment on what you're doing and how well you're doing it. Far behind you on that journey, but can definitely give some feedback as a founder listening in on the pitch. On how perhaps you can sharpen the pitch going forward. Because I was left with a few questions at the end of the pitch. One got clarified once Suparna asked her question, which is, what's the market and how is your product differentiated? Whatever your courses, how are they different from what's the market? I think that got clarified for me only after Suparna asked her question.
Yes.
And the second one, I heard you say the word boutique a lot of times, and unfortunately in the VC world, that's seen as the opposite of scale. Which left me with the question of why is Rakhee raising, and what is she going to use the money for? If she's already profitable and she wants to be boutique, why the fundraise? Right. So these are two questions which I was left with. One got answered, the other I'd still love to know the answer to.
Definitely. Actually, honestly, it's my first pitch ever. And yes, I did have a pitch which had a lot of operational things about the business, but then, it would have looked a little longer. And then I was told, the investors really don't want to see that. Yes, it is boutique, but if I can come back to my revenue model, there are 4 revenue models. So we do have, while we have the offline model, which is boutique, we are looking at the online one, which is a huge scalability number. The third one is the endorsements. Yes, I know it would have its limitations because I've just named a few. I can definitely disclose a few more. But the fourth one is the merchandise, which definitely is again another scalability level. And that is the reason. So yes, I don't know if we've all aware, if I'm from a Mumbai, we've always had that model of Shah classes, when we used to go for our accounts, and we used to have like 8 to 10 classrooms or 20 classrooms. So yes, it is boutique, but no one is stopping me to scale that to the next level, because there is a concept, there is an idea, and there is a creation like an A to Z. And we have seen that. We have the numbers that we've done over. Unfortunately, I did remove those kind of things from the slide because we thought that it would really go more lengthy. And yes, it's all about learning. And thank you so much for pointing that out. So I'm definitely going to take these 2 things and maybe crisp them up and put them into the pitch for surely next time. And
Awesome.
I hope you got the
Yeah.
answer now for,
I did.
yeah.
I did. Thank you.
And we have been doing, because online is something we've done. We've done loads of numbers all over the world. But right now, what we are looking at is taking it to that next level. So just giving you an example of the ones that are going online. So we have done with Paytm, with a lot of other portals. But there are many who are actually telling us to come on board with the things that are going online. So we have done with Paytm, with a lot of other portals.
Rakhee, I
But
think, is frozen. We'll give it a minute.
thing is that I'm not a teacher who's doing only that, but I have the whole institute, sorry, am I audible?
Yes.
Yes. So what we're looking at in the online is, if you've seen the other portals that are there who are approaching us left, right, and center. In fact, even from UK, I've had a lot of agencies. But then again, it's the quality. And I have that whole school with me right here, right? The creation. Because I can say very proudly that it's been me from the last 14 years, the creativity from every angle. I'm not the chef who's just there in front. I'm the one who's doing it all, as Saroja said. So happy to answer. And that whole thing is something which is waiting. We are the ones who can fill in all the screening rooms in the theater, as they say.
Thanks. Should we go back?
In the culinary and bakery space.
Okay, we have the last 5 minutes before we move on to the next pitch. Sid, Aditya, Archana, I know you guys had questions.
No, I don't have any questions, but first of all, Rakhee, like Suparna said, congratulations on everything that you've done. I think you've got a lot of different kinds of businesses, which is very interesting. You're being able to do it in many different mediums. Some of them are potentially very scalable, but will probably take a lot more money. Others, I think you could probably just keep running in the manner that you're running it and have a wonderful small to medium-sized business, which will generate, I'm sure, lots of profit every year. It's sometimes difficult to do both very early on, because you have to decide where you want to spend your time and energy. And so as you decide to pitch, my suggestion would be, and everything is not for the same kind of audience. So, I mean, investor audience. And so when you have a live cooking or live teaching session where the accreditation is yours and you've got 6-7 people, of course you can do many classes in a day, but you're also limited by you and whoever you can train and the space that you have and the number of people you will take. And so your greatest strength is also potentially a weakness when it comes to scaling the business to what Byju's does, because you mentioned his name. On the other hand, on the online side, you can do all kinds of things which perhaps allow you to scale, and you go to a different audience perhaps to try to raise money for something like that versus the offline. So I think you might want to just be a little bit careful on how you position what you're doing, especially early on as you're building your brand up. It's still very young, and to try to do both, then you're making someone like me, for example, decide, well, what am I really investing in? Because where is your mind really, and where is your heart really? And if you had to choose, if a building was burning down or your online site crashed, where would you go first, and why? So I think, and then you have to go to the right investor as a result of it. I think you have a beautiful business on the offline side, and I think you really know how to run that business. This is not advice. I'm not trying to give you advice in a 5-minute pitch by any means, but if I looked at your deck, I would be most excited by what you were doing there, only because how far you've gotten in that. But the excitement would only be that far, because I don't think that that's the kind of business that necessarily you would want venture or private equity money for, just by the nature of the speed at which that might pace. Because if you try to grow it too fast, you're going to lose quality. And I know that's nothing you would ever do. So I think thinking about that aspect of it will be important as you decide to either take money or not take money, or which direction you want to concentrate your early years on and ongoing. That's my 2 cents.
If I could also get in here, if I can just get in here as well. Sorry, am I interrupting someone?
No, go ahead, Archana. Close yours.
Yeah.
No, not at all.
I think what was just said, and I think also what Shashank pointed out, I think I just want to make a motherhood and apple pie kind of statement. First of all, venture investors are not necessarily always right. I mean, often we are more wrong than right, as everybody who's an investor here will attest. But there are certain sort of pieces that are important when you're pitching to a venture investor. And it's important to keep that in mind because, every business has a certain sort of aspect and dynamics to it, which unfortunately you can't get away from. So I think like what was just said, it needs to be very clear what the business is and what business are we getting behind as investors. It always gives early stage investors some pause. If there are too many revenue streams, actually, I mean, a lot of founders think that investors want to see, the ability to extract revenue out of every sort of possible activity. But actually, we want to see a clear sort of product market fit, a clear revenue, scalable, replicable model. I think you're in a very interesting space. So, just as we saw the horizontal sort of marketplaces and then there's verticalization. So similar, Byju's is a sort of a motherhood sort of in edtech. But there's so much more that can be done across categories. And I think Culinary School, of course, there's an immediate earning sort of potential, which anybody graduating or doing a course from a good culinary school can hope to achieve. So, and I'm not surprised that you have tier 2, tier 3 town students, because obviously that's where the need possibly is for a good high quality culinary school. But I think, pick a lane, and often that's one of the toughest things. Are you offline? Are you online? I mean, it's okay a little later in one's journey to be omni-channel, but most investors want to see a clear revenue coming from one clear sort of your main revenue stream. Like, what is that? And I think what Shashank pointed out is very also important, that a founder for venture capital investment must look for high scalability and growth. If you don't want to be under that pressure, then venture is the wrong kind of capital to take. There are other forms of capital available to grow a business. And I mean, it's not necessarily that you'll be successful by taking venture. Venture capital doesn't ensure success. So therefore, I mean, other kinds of capital are also should be welcome, and you should explore those opportunities is what I would. And I would say this to all founders pitching. I mean, look, investors don't necessarily know everything. You guys are much closer to the customer, so you understand what the customer really wants. So don't worry about tough questions. And my final point is, don't be scared to talk about numbers. Nobody can do much with your numbers. I mean, you're at X revenue, Y revenue. What will anybody do with that number, right? It's
Exactly.
everything lies. I mean, the god of small detail and execution is everything. Even an idea doesn't mean much if you don't know how to execute it. So your numbers will not really allow anybody else to come in, take away anything that you're building. But of course, you should be comfortable in whatever you present to anybody. Those are my thoughts. Long-winded, but hopefully useful.
No, definitely. Thank you, Archana. Thank you, Sid.
Yes. Last words from Aditya before we wrap up. Sorry, we need to get on to the other pitch. Aditya, any feedback? You're on mute, Aditya.
So first of all, Rakhee, look, it takes a lot of courage to go out there and put your story there. So congratulations on taking that first step. Look, I think, Anisha, what I will do is that after we've heard everybody, maybe I can spend 10, 15 minutes just kind of talking through what would help everyone while they're presenting or thinking through their business.
Sure.
As well as probably, some maybe suggestions on how to kind of make the pitch a little bit sharper and what to get across. Okay. But Rakhee, look, as far as you're concerned, I think a lot has been said. So there's a lot that you're kind of drinking through the hosepipe right now. So you can probably look at your notes once this call is over. But essentially, I think if there were 2 or 3 things that you really need to focus on at the moment, is what is that market opportunity that you're trying to address? Like, where is the big gap? Right? What is it that no one else is doing that you're trying to? Number 2, who is that customer that you are trying to address? Because that will also determine what kind of business are you going to be in, whether you're going to be offline, online, and all of those answers will come from there. And the third is, look, any of the people that you're talking to, they're not going to be married to you for the next 20 years. They have a finite period of time that they will be useful to you. So in that finite period of time, if indeed you're going to take their capital, where will you use it? And how do they get visibility on how their capital is going to work? Now, some of them may stay on with you for a much longer journey, but I think these three things, kind of think about it in a much sharper way. And then at the end, once I've heard everybody, I'll probably have a few more suggestions which you may find useful.
Anisha, if I might just make one sentence, I know we're out of time. Rakhee, I loved your pitch. This is Saroja here, and I don't have specific suggestions for you right now because we don't have time, but I have a lot of suggestions on how you can improve your pitch. Take it from somebody who's pitched to every other VC in town and the country and globally. So please connect with me offline. I have very specific suggestions of how you can pitch much better.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for all those suggestions. I would definitely look into it. Just want to say a closing line. Thank you so much for this opportunity. But all the streams are something which I have been doing actually over the years, and I have been in the business for the last 13 years. And that's why I've taken that much time. In fact, I've had lots of opportunities of franchisees because I didn't want to dilute the quality. I wanted to grow. I wanted to make myself more stable. And I feel now I am definitely ready. And the online one is because obviously it's what the pandemic has taught us, and that's why we went in. But yes, I would love to, Aditya, would love, I'm waiting for yours. And Saroja, if I could just connect, I'm going to take the number from Anisha.
Yeah, we'll do that.
Yes,
Sure.
yes. Thank you so much, guys. It's definitely my first. I'm very happy with all those suggestions, and I know it's all about the learning. And like Saroja said, there are many more, and
thank you so
nothing
much.
lost.
Thank you
so
so much. Thanks. Our next founder today who will be pitching is Mansi. She's the CEO and founder of Just Deliveries. Mansi, can we have? Hi, Mansi. I've shared your pitch with everyone just before as well, so they all have it on WhatsApp as well.
Great. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I shall quickly outline my pitch. So I'm looking to raise 3 crores in a seed round. Just Deliveries is an intra-city logistics company focused on food and perishables. We have a 5-year track record. We are EBITDA positive. Just Delivery uses a unique sharing van model with digitized operations. We have tech and data, and we are enabling small and mid-sized food brands to get an efficient supply chain, as well as insights on where and how much material to stock. We have a large addressable market size of 2,000 CR pan-India. It's a scalable business model. We believe we have good exit options through acquisitions by larger players in the similar space. We are looking to raise 3 CR. The main funds will go towards hiring, strengthening our tech, and increasing our infrastructure. Currently, we are present in Mumbai and Pune. The seed round is to establish leadership position in these 2 cities. Then we want to raise a pre-series A to enter Bangalore. The year after that, we'd like to enter NCR and then subsequently other cities. My name is Mansi Mahansaria. I'm from UD City and I've done my MBA from FMS. I recently finished the Goldman Sachs 10K program. Just Deliveries was nominated as Maharashtra's top 100 startups in 21. And recently we've been acknowledged as the top 5 logistics startups impacting food companies. Our vision is to help food brands with perishable products to have an efficient supply chain network across cities, backed with data on where to send material and how much to send. So this is an outline of our ask. I'd like to get into a few details on exactly which customers we are servicing. Before that, if anyone has any questions, I'll be happy to answer, or I could talk more about the problem we are addressing.
Mansi, they have the deck, so let's go into asking for their feedback because I think all of them have had a chance. And the senior founder mentors, please jump in with any specific questions that you may have from Mansi.
Mansi, if you can just explain what you
That's
mean
Preeta.
by shared, so that
Sorry?
I can get some insight into that. What you mean by shared? You said you share the, there's a unique model, yeah.
Right. So basically our vans are ambient vans, okay? And we work with perishable products, which are either frozen, chilled, or have limited shelf life. Now, typically companies use refrigerated trucks to deliver frozen or chilled products. What we've done is we've done a lot of research and come up with packaging material so that we can carry variety of products across the temperature range in the same van. So to give you an example, today we are going to 300 plus retailers. It could be general trade, kiranas, modern trade, e-com stores, and now the dark stores like your Swiggy Super. And we are carrying about 30 to 40 brands every day in the same van across temperature profiles. And we are carrying their material into stores and helping them with stocking small quantities of their paneer, their curds, their breads into stores. And because we visit every store every day, these brands are able to send small quantities more frequently, thereby reducing wastages. So low shelf life products have a lot of wastages, RTV, products that are expired. Now, because of a simple concept of visiting every store every day, they're able to send small quantities and reduce this wastage. They're also assured of visibility. There's no stock out, because their products reaching the stores every day. So the shared model is basically all these brands coming together in my vans and delivery. Morning we do this, and then afternoon we use the same vans to help cloud kitchens and QSRs who have a central kitchen model to help them deliver inventory from their central kitchen to their outlets. So what I'm able to do is earn as much in my Maruti Eco Cargo, which is a small CNG van, as much as my competitor would earn on a large reefer truck.
Thanks, Mansi. I think you should also then highlight the impact that you're having, because that's great social impact, by the way, because you're avoiding wastage, which is one of the biggest contributors to our situation today.
Yes.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you.
I'd like to actually spend 2 minutes on that. The problem we are addressing is for the small and mid-sized brands who are either in dairy, it could be eggs, it could be cheese, it could be milk, yogurts, or who are into breads, artisanal breads, who are into fresh produce, your exotics, or who are into artisanal ice cream, frozen meat, all of these brands. Now, distributors don't like to work with these brands because they are low volume and they're perishable, forcing these foodpreneurs to own their own logistics. When you own your own logistics, your reach is limited. You can maximum deliver to 20, 30, 40 stores. Plus, you have to say that, okay, I'll send my van today in this route and that route. What we've created is a network enabling all these brands to get their products to every store every day, thereby significantly reducing the wastages. Today, our clients, artisanal bread brands, their wastages are 2%. This is down from 8 to 10% that they were having. Not only that, because my whole operation is digitized, today I know in Mumbai and Pune, where does paneer sell? Where does high value bread sell? Where does ice cream sell? And I'm hoping to kind of use these insights to further help my brands to make the right decisions on where to stock their products. Not only this, it's very difficult for brands to break into and to place their products into stores. Even if you're ready to pay the listing fees and the commissions, it's very relationship driven. So we are also helping brands to identify not only where they should sell, but also helping them onboard their products into these stores. That is something that I'm very passionate about, and I'm hoping to help my brands even enter other cities, because These are the same challenges they face in a Bangalore or a Delhi or other cities. We have also now started offering transient cold storage. So we now have brands from Delhi and Bangalore who have moved away from distributors or who are now able to access Mumbai market because we pick up their products from the railway station and we've got a small transient cold storage. We put it there. And the next day we dispatch it to all the stores. So we send it to their stores, we send it to their HoReCa clients. And we hope to create this platform across a lot of metros.
Mansi, Shashank here.
Hi, Shashank.
Hey, super pitch, very, very clear, very pointed. I am actually, left thinking that, so what you're doing for small foodpreneurs is what distributors have been doing for ages for packaged food brands with slightly higher shelf life, right? And if I unbundle a FMCG distributor, there are actually 4 things that guy does. He does logistics, he does warehousing, he does cash cycle management, collects cash from the outlets, and does market entry. So allows me to get into stores, like you were saying, that otherwise I would have to go and build a relationship with, right? But he already has either contacts or salesmen, etc., who he uses, right? The more I'm thinking about it, you're doing a large part of all of these services, right? Why pitch yourself as a delivery solution? You are actually a GTM for very high perishability small and medium businesses, which is a much bigger profit pool.
I agree, by the way.
Yeah, I think you're solving a much bigger problem than just deliveries. Because if you say you're just deliveries, then I have these big names of Delivery and ShipRocket and warehousing, WareIQ and all of these things that come to my mind.
Right.
But they are solving only one part of the problem. And you have legs into all 4 parts. Like the cash piece is the only thing that I didn't hear, but that's actually, once you have the other 3 things of logistics and access and sales, then why can't you be the person getting credit to either side of the parties that you're connecting, etc. So I would say, like, think of it like in a slightly larger way. I think you're onto something bigger than just deliveries.
Hi, Mansi. This is Archana from Rukum Capital.
Hi, Archana.
Loved your pitch. Very measured and, got the story through very well. So we invest in a lot of the kind of brands that you've spoken about. And of course, yes, that's a huge pain point. Just wanted to understand, do you own these vehicles? How are you addressing that side of the business?
So we would actually love to go asset light. Given that we're really small and we're focused only on food and perishables, so far we've been owning vehicles. Also because the eco cargos that we work with, they are not available in the unorganized market. So whenever, as we are growing our size and we need bigger vehicles, we do find it easy to rent, the Tata Ace, the larger.
Yeah.
And
Hathi.
Yes, the Chota Hathi, correct.
The Chota Hathi, huh?
So the bigger size vehicles, yes, we are able to rent. And going ahead, we do feel that it can be a 15% and 85% ratio, 15% we'd still want to own because some of our vehicles are air conditioned for farm fresh produce, which is not possible in the rental.
Yeah. In the open market, you won't get those vehicles.
Right. But I know it's a completely different dynamic to rent vehicles, and I've been very comfortable owning vehicles, so it's going to require some shift, in that, but I'd love to go asset light.
So how many vehicles do you have today?
So today we own 15 vehicles and we've rented 3 vehicles.
And how do you do the route mapping?
So since the routes are pretty much fixed, for example, we have 7 vehicles that leave every morning at 6 a.m. across the city and one goes to Pune. So the routes are pretty much fixed.
Where do they start from? Bhiwandi or they start from somewhere?
Our small warehouse is in Lal Bagh in Parel.
Okay.
So we start here. Yeah.
And you've got the tech I'm assuming, to do the route mapping, you obviously have the tech to do it.
Yes.
Okay. And what is the unit economics on it?
So currently our gross profit is between 38 to 43%. Our EBITDA in a regular year is about 22%. The last 2 years, we saw a major fall because pre-COVID, 80% of my revenues came from dark kitchens and cloud kitchens, where we'd help them deliver from central kitchen to outlets. And that took a major beating. But like they say, every adversity is an opportunity. So that actually forced us to look at the retail distribution segment and grow from 2 brands to 40 brands today. So now we're in a good place, where our revenues are well distributed. But because our revenues fell down significantly, our EBITDA in the last year was 11%, and we expect the same thing to close this year.
And which are the categories you're addressing in packaged foods? So ice cream, obviously, dairy, you said.
Yes, so we are doing frozen, we are doing ice creams, artisanal ice creams, frozen meat. We are doing a lot of artisanal bread brands, all your La Folie, THF, Pure Brought, all of them. Then we are doing saladable, hydroponics, fresh, exotic fruits. Then we're doing eggs. We have clients, a client from Bangalore, Happy Hens, who's sending cartons of eggs to us. We're doing a lot of vegan brands. We're doing Parsi Dairy Farm like Cremita, all the cheeses, all the dairy products. So it's either frozen, we're doing dips like chilled products, probiotics, such types of products.
Who's your biggest client? Sorry, I'm asking all the questions. This is my last question.
So our biggest client gives us, we have 4 or 5 clients who give us like 40,000-50,000 a month. So that would be La Folie, it would be Parsi Dairy Farm, it would be all that dips, it would be Pure Brought, the bread brand. So we have a bunch of clients who give us that monthly revenue.
Category wise, which is your largest category?
Breads.
Breads,
yeah.
Okay.
Suparna said, anyone has questions for her?
No question. Mansi, congratulations on your journey so far. I agree with Shashank. I think your name is a little bit of a misnomer because it's not just delivery, it's so much more. And that's so funny that when he said it like that, because there's so much that you're doing. It's something that I want to say that it's something that I'm very into and understand. We have investments in companies that have scaled a lot, are on the periphery of what you're doing. Rebel Foods, Dunzo, and Way Cool all don't do what you do, but are reliant on things that you do, not from you, unfortunately, but from other people. And so we know what a large problem this is. And I think that you're in the mix of 2 big things that are happening in our country. One, I think grocery is becoming a more spontaneous event rather than a planned, I'm going to go to, the supermarket and shop. And 2, so many smaller young brands are coming in, and although they understand how to make their product, they don't understand how to distribute it. And here you are right in the middle of both of those things. And I think that's very exciting. And so I think at the moment though, I think that I think how you spend this money that you raise is going to be really important. I'm happy to link up with you. I understand the space a little bit, and so I have some thoughts, but I don't want to waste everyone's time. So I'm happy to get connected through Ladies Who Lead with me and my team and kind of walk you through how we've been thinking about this, and where we think maybe some more points can come out in your presentation. But it's it's a very exciting space. I actually had not gone through your presentation, and I saw just Deliveries. And I kind of moved on, and so, but hearing you speak, and I just went through your deck right now. It's very exciting to see what you're doing. It really is. Good luck. And if you'd like to connect, I'm happy to kind of walk you through some of our thoughts and if they're helpful.
Mansi, I'd also like to be connected with you, and I can also give you some thoughts and also connect you to some of our portfolio companies. We've got one company in dairy, and they're based out of Bombay. So maybe
I'll connect you all with her.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Suparna?
Yes, just a couple of comments, Mansi. Of course, you've got a lot of endorsement from all the investors and founders. It's a great business, huge opportunity. Just a couple of comments on, what challenges are you seeing in scaling up? Because the market is huge. There are enough, customers out there, and huge audience. What are the challenges that you see? And the fundraise that you're doing, 3 crore. If you've charted where that's going to be spent. And also, I think your deck needs a little bit of work, because what all you've talked through, and where all you're contributing in terms of value, creating value for your vendors as well as suppliers, that needs a little bit kind of depth in the deck as well.
Right.
So
right.
yeah, happy to connect with you and talk you through that.
Yeah, no, I fully agree with you. I think my deck is more like a transport company.
Yeah.
And when I was talking to a friend, and then he was like, listen, but you do this, why don't you bring that out? And
yeah, absolutely.
Talk.
There's a lot more you can talk through in the deck as well.
Yes, so I will definitely make those edits. I think the biggest challenge I see is that, I have been doing this. This is our 6th year of operation. And, I know how to run a small business, and I really want to make this into a platform play, right? And I don't know how to, I'm just being very honest, So one of the investors we spoke to said, why don't you think of being asset light? And that's when, if you see my deck says 30% in buying more vans. And the past 2 weeks I've been thinking about how can I go asset light? And that's the kind of inputs, and that's the kind of value add. And that's the reason I want to raise money from a specialist VC fund, So for me, my biggest challenge is, I know the market's good. I know we've got experience in this small thing. I know we've got clients everywhere, but it's just about execution, and for me, I think that's the only thing. If I can get that right, how to most efficiently use my money, is what I'm looking for.
Do you have a team?
Yes, I mean, we've recently hired somebody who comes from TJ UK. TJ UK is the largest food distributor in Western India. So he understands retail distribution. And we've recently made one more hire from somebody who's worked with Zomato, Paytm, HDFC Bank, and the likes. Because we were bootstrapped, we had to be very careful about hiring good people. And I also put a lot of money in buying vans. In hindsight, I could have done it differently. But yes, a lot of the money we're raising is to build that manager drive the business ahead.
Have you identified anybody who you'd like to hire? I mean, do you have people in mind?
Yes, I do, across marketing, leasing, as well as accounts. Yes.
Okay.
But any suggestions or recommendations would be fantastic.
So, when we talk, I'll have a in-depth conversation with you. I think what Shashank's brought out is really, really spot on. And that's really one of the need of the hour for so many of these early stage consumer brands. So you really are sitting at the center of it. In fact, I mean, I saw a payments company which was trying to give loans to retailers, to the Kirana shop guys. So, I mean, you're solving so many problems on both sides of the... So I'll connect with you and we can have a conversation.
Thank you.
That was amazing, Mansi. Thank you so much. I think we've got lots of feedback and we've got a lot of connections to make for you. I will connect you to everybody post this.
Thank you.
Does
Thank you.
anybody have any feedback? Okay, should we move on to the next presenter? Aditya, you're on mute.
Yes. Hi, Mansi. So first of all, look, I mean, adding on to what everybody said, I spent the last 15 years of my life doing leasing and highly complex operational businesses. I'll tell you the bad news. You're going to be in an extremely operational heavy and execution oriented business. This is like a crazy candy store of optimization, of looking at, every, like every cent, forget about the dollar, which will, help you create a competitive advantage over everybody else. So you need to spend a lot of time thinking about what will break at scale. Where are all, you've got to kind of set up an analysis team, which is not data analysis team. It is a operational analysis team, which is constantly looking at where are the efficiencies that you can develop.
Right.
Identify the 3 or 4 areas where you will need serious talent. And I can spend 5-7 minutes with you. You don't really need too much, but once you get the direction, you and your team are smart enough to run in that direction. I've spent $60 billion worth of off balance sheet financing in the last 15 years. So absolutely, you need to, I used to do leasing of airplanes for a long period of time and still do. So you've got to kind of, get out of this business of owning these assets, because they're going to be a big drain on your capital. And it's going to be a huge drain in a few years once these vehicles become inefficient, become fuel inefficient, they require more maintenance and so on and so forth. Route network planning will be massive. Right? Allocating of people resources at various places, how many hours they will work, who will take off from whom. So you have to really focus a lot on that operations control center, if I can call it that, right? Right. Because you got so much great attention in the last 20 minutes, you will have 100 different avenues in front of you, but unfortunately, you'll have to kind of come up to every crossroad and try to choose which way you're going to go and what are the other 5 roads that you're going to say no to.
Yes, I agree. Saying no.
Because
yes.
Yeah, because it's in scaling up, and I've spent most of my life doing that. It's often more important to know what not to do.
Yes.
So just like these are the 2 or 3 things that I would ask you to kind of focus on, right? I'm glad you got this opportunity. Look, I'll say this on behalf of Anisha and all of us at Ladies Who Lead. The whole idea of this platform is to create a safe haven for all women founders, investors, etc., so that you can freely share your challenges, and this becomes a peer kind of learning group and an advisory group for each other. This is not Shark Tank. It's never meant to be, right? I hope we are not sharks. We rather be a school of fish where everybody is kind of moving together and we're encouraging each other, right? And therefore, I'm so glad that so many of the invitee investors have offered to help you. And I'm sure there'll be many founders who will do the same. But the biggest compliment I'll give you is when you held up your hand and said, these are the things that I'm struggling with. That shows tremendous amount of maturity on behalf of a founder. Clearly, that comes from the fact that you've been, walking the street for 6 years. So wish you all the best. But I think those are the areas that I would ask you to focus on.
Thank you, Aditya. Thank you so much. And I completely agree. Having to say no, a lot of people say, why don't you get into D2C? It's the same customers. Just start D2C. You have cold storage. And I say no. I already have my hands in 2 things. Let me build that up.
It's the thing is, Mansi, that you have to develop the ability to separate the news from the noise.
Yes.
Trust me, in the 15 years that I ran the 3rd largest airline in the world, every dinner I was told, अरे यार chicken jungli sandwich यार बहुत देर हो गया, like but trust me, that chicken jungli sandwich is not driving the airline. but as a good founder, you got to listen, and you got to kind of know what to kind of keep on that list, which you will attend to 10 years from now, and focus on what really makes sense for the business and moves the ball. But great stuff. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
That's amazing, Mansi. You've got a lot of feedback, lots of solid advice going on there. We're so happy to hear that. And thank you, Aditya, for encapsulating what this is all about. We're going to move on to our next pitch. It's by Nidha, who's the founder of her own eponymous label. Can we have Nidha up, please? Yes, Nidha. Hi, Nidha.
Hi everyone. I'm Nidha Mahmood and I'm a fashion designer. I've run my brand for 13 years now. And all this while I've focused on creating a brand which does a lot of very interesting, creatively driven work. I've had over 35 odd Indian and international collaborations with the likes of Adidas, Nike, Harley Davidson, Lady Gaga, and there are many, many more. Swarovski, so many more. So different kinds of brands, different kinds of collaborations as part of my creative trajectory, because I viewed my brand as one which was in a niche market. I viewed myself in a space where I wanted to create a language which was different from everybody else. And well, I started when I was 22. So at age 22, you have a lot of different kinds of aspirations, and my aspiration was to be a brand which was extremely creatively driven, which had a beautiful signature of its own. And I think God has been kind, and a lot of very good work has happened, and we've done some beautiful, interesting projects in the years gone by. Well, at this point in time, I'm here speaking to you guys on this forum because I feel that being relevant in terms of business is very important. And I've heard two lovely presentations, and I think without having to say so, we agree that relevance is the most important part to create a business and to find longevity. What I find right now is important is that in the universe that we live in, we're entering the metaverse. We all know a little bit or a lot about what the metaverse is. We know that because of COVID, we've been held up at home. Our sense of clothing, our sense of lifestyle, as our sense of eating food at home or outside, every single thing has been influenced by the life that we're leading right now. And as a fashion designer, if I was to speak about the sort of transition and the sort of space we're moving into, we're moving away from the physical world into the metaverse. We're talking about the NFTs, we're talking about everything that has to do with the virtual world. So when I take that as my understanding of the world we're entering, and this is going to stay for a very, very long time to come, I feel that at the same time, there is a very huge dialogue in the world right now, which is saying that androgyny or non-binary dressing is becoming important because the boundaries between man and woman, male and female, is becoming more and more blurred. Here we're talking about man, he, she, I mean, he, they, or we're talking about woman who calls herself they, or we're talking about the LGBTQ community, the non-binary community. We're speaking about people today who do not believe that gender plays the most important role in the dimension of fashion. So I feel that there is a huge potential in terms of androgynous and non-binary dressing, because if I was to quote the Free Press Journal, it says playing with gender is something that is big news in fashion right now, and it's unique in its own way as it offers a different dimension to the world of fashion. Now, how I back this up is with my research, I've understood that Gen Z, 52% of Gen Z and 27% of the millennials strongly agree that gender no longer defines a person. which means that it translates into these two generations being the future of retail, accounting to $143 billion in spends in the next 4 years. So I see this as a great opportunity to work on a brand which would cater to clothing which we could call androgynous or unisex or non-binary. There could be a lot of different names that could define this clothing, because the Gen Z and Gen Y are very clearly people who are not very influenced by whether it's a man or a woman or it's a non-binary person. And supporting this, there are a lot of international brands as of now who are working on creating these non-binary set of clothing. For example, I'll name a few. There is Gucci, there is Marc Jacobs, there is Vivienne Westwood, Balenciaga, Louis Vuitton, Jean-Paul Gaultier, Wales Bonner. On the international front, unfortunately, we see that there is a very big lag, because from my research, I've understood that there are just a handful, out of which I thought there were three big names that I could speak of. There is Nor White Nor Black, there is Human, and there is Boho Calcutta. Now, I feel that while the universe is going towards a certain space, we see that there is a gap in the Indian market, which could be a very good point to work towards, because then you have the fast mover advantage. I've also done a little research on international high street brands like Saks, H&M, Big Bud Press, No Sasso, Abercrombie and Fitch, Zara, EG. These are some brands that have worked on the androgynous line as their regular lines. But in India, we don't have anything like that. I could only find two names that sort of made some sort of sense, which was Blony and Biscuit. So again, I feel that in the Indian market, there's a really big gap that could be utilized. Now, if I was to support this with the current environment, I would say that there are a lot of international influencers who are sort of visually endorsing this gender divide to, the divide to be blurred. For example, there are a lot of heterosexual men like Harry Styles, Timothy Chalamet, there is Jonathan Van Ness, there is Billy Porter, who have been very boldly crossing over and dressing in different styles without really being prohibited by the so-called norms of male versus female dressing. In India, you would see people like Ranveer Singh, Ayushmann Khurrana, there is Jim Sarb, and there's a very interesting influencer called Siddharth Batra. These are men who are addressing this gender divide to be not very important, and the fact that men versus women, there does not need to be a very bifurcated way of looking at clothing. And women, well, for the longest time, women have been wearing a lot of androgynous clothing, like a man's suit is a very beautiful outfit for a woman. But how many brands are actually creating clothing which can be sold as a unisex clothing, where interesting prints can be used, or where silhouettes can be a gender blur? I think on the international forum, yes, there's a lot of stuff that's been happening. And because there are a lot of very big brands and a lot of high street brands that are endorsing the concept, I feel that there is a lot of potential for us in the Indian market. In fact, very recently, in February 2020, the CFDA, which is the Council for Fashion Designers of America, has added a unisex or a non-binary option in New York Fashion Week, which means that there is a whole segment which will only cater to designers who are showcasing clothing which is androgynous. And already 4 brands showcased in this category, with an additional 12 designers showing unisex collections in their traditional categories. So by and large, what I'm trying to say is that I feel that there is a huge potential for androgynous clothing for a brand. Perhaps I think I would imagine that an online presence would be more beneficial. So which means that we're talking about a business which is not very OPEX heavy. We're talking about being online. We're talking about, well, perhaps having a few brick and mortar stores, because that adds to the brand's visibility. Plus, it just adds value to a brand. But the reach is way higher when you're online. So I'm looking at creating this business, which is hinged on an online business, which caters to people who want to shop clothing without having to understand the gender bias, without wanting to demarcate between man and woman. And and basis my research and the numbers that I've found, I feel that there's a huge gap which is sort of, it's ready to be exploited in the Indian market, I feel.
Thank you, Nida, for that. Sid, do you have any questions?
So, Nida, I went through your presentation. I love your stuff. It's actually it's very, very cool. And one of my favorite brands is Androgynous, and I've been following it for a really long time, and I've actually bought some stuff from there as well. Talwar. Mm-hmm. And what Talwar really taught me really was that it doesn't define itself as androgynous. It's defining itself through just really stylish stuff. And so it doesn't start becoming like a niche player. It's like, it suddenly became a massive brand. And I think one of the big problems with some of the companies that have gone down this, have been building around this idea, are kind of manipulating it because they're not thinking of high quality, high design. They're just saying they're androgynous. And so, here you go. Here is a jacket, sweatpants or whatever it might be, and it's androgynous, and that's kind of diluting what's happening. And I think what you've really got going for you is that the designs are so nice and so original, and I think so. My 2 cents to you would be, don't let anyone take that away from you as you start going and start growing, because I think that's what's going to make you kind of succeed. But beyond that, I think as you look at yourself as a brand, and I was kind of going as I said, looking at your deck, and even as you're speaking, I think at first and foremost, you just make high quality design. Whether that's a unisex or androgynous or not, it's high quality, stylish, well cut, and beautiful. And I think that's really what needs to come out, more and more in it. And it's and then everything else kind of comes around it, I think. I was just trying to do a little bit of, because I know that I knew Talwar, but I didn't realize how many brands have done this really well. I was just, while you were speaking, I was just trying to see a couple more, and it's incredible. And so there are all these companies that I feel like now I want to research, but that they have been able to build this up, and I think it would be worthwhile just seeing what mistakes have been made along the way. Though I do feel one big issue is people just trying to ride a fringe wave, which is really unfortunate. And your ability to get out of that because of who you are and what you've done, I think differentiate yourself through that is what's going to help you kind of move forward. Choosing your investor wisely to make sure they don't put pressure on you to go down that road is also going to be such a big part of it. So anyways, I'll stop there. I really love your designs, Nida. Really, really love them.
Thank you. I want to add one more thing. So to this entire concept, because my brand does a lot of sustainable clothing, but of course we're in a designer space, so it is a lot easier to work on sustainable clothing because you have bigger budgets and you can sell the clothes at a higher price. But with this brand, I want to work with pre and post consumer waste fabrics and try and use other sustainable techniques so that we're an industry which adds primarily very largely to the carbon footprint. So it would be interesting if we create a brand which is sustainable and has a strong design language, which is catering to a gap in the market where we know that there is a huge gap, and there are these Gen Z and millennials who are interested in clothing like this. It would be I think it would be a beautiful it's an opportunity to create a very beautiful brand.
Hi Nidha, this is Archana Jagirdar from Rokum. How are you?
Very well. How are you?
So beautifully articulated, Nidha. I loved how you spoke about it. It really brought, alive the story really well. I think the trends had been there for a while, the boyfriend jeans, the boyfriend shirts. I bought Virgil Abloh's sunglasses and, jewelry that he's designed for men because, they're just stunning pieces to wear, right? It doesn't matter whether...
Right.
But I think the big issue in fashion from an investor perspective is, of course, the fact that fashion is trend based. So you have a whole problem of stock liquidation, and that really puts a tremendous amount of pressure on your profitability and therefore growth. So I think to Sid's point, I think he's got a valid point there that I think any investor that you work with should help you address that, and technology is one big lever that you should use. There's of course a lot of interest in the investor community right now in the Sheen model. So while I don't know whether India can replicate the Sheen model, but if you can come as close as possible to the just-in-time sort of manufacturing process so that you're able to cut down on your inventory sort of issues that, like I said, is a big problem that investors feel and therefore shy away from this category from an investment perspective. And I agree with Sid. You've got a great design sensibility, and if you really build great, beautifully designed products which are not trend based but more sort of utility based, so the way all these great Japanese brands have got built on great fashion sort of a design aesthetic more than trend based sort of inventory, I think that would really work. But I love the name and beautifully told.
So thank you, Archana. So to answer that doubt of yours, we have tried out just in time with our brand as well in the past, and with Corona, it's not been very easy. We've been very badly hit by the pandemic. So we've tried to work with the just in time concept where you have a certain set of prints and you have a certain set of textures, and you produce fabric, and you have a like a minimum set of orders that are kept, which you keep replenishing with time. So as you see that those pieces that are already in stock are being sold, you produce a few more. So we have been working like that, and it is a concept that is workable, because this brand that we will work on does not require embellishment. It does not require any very difficult pattern making. It does not require anything which is very fitted. So basic patterns, I feel that scalability has a very big chance with
you'll need tech to support that just in time at some point. Initially at a smaller scale, it's still possible to do it. I know that in Bombay, there are lots of job workers now who do work quite closely for this just in time piece, but you will need to get very deep sort of understanding of the consumer demand, and so that everything is integrated using tech, your back end and your front end. But I'm sure, you'll be able to, figure that out. But keep that as sort of an important goal to achieve for this.
Thank you.
But beautifully told.
Thank you very much.
Suparna?
Hi, Nidha. I looked up your deck and, all your designs on some of the marketplaces, and of course, very colorful designs, lovely work that you've been doing, all this while. Just had a question now that you're, looking at moving in the D2C, in the online, kind of expanding and scaling that, channel. You might want to think through, how large is that market and what pricing would work, so that you're able to kind of scale the business in terms of affordability and the right demographics. So I'm not sure if you've thought through that, or if you have a product segmentation in terms of couture and pret. Do you have any thoughts around that? Or
well, I'll be honest about this. All this while we've been focused on the designer market, which is,
right.
Pricing is very different for us in the designer market. And yes, I have done some back-end calculations of what kind of price points we want to look at, and comparatives with a lot of other brands. So depending on what fabric we're using, depending on whether we're using post and pre consumer waste fabric, or we're using printed fabrics, we are working on our back end to figure out what would be the sweet spot for a brand like ours to create the product that is in question. And yes, it will have to be very competitive. I want to keep it in a space which I can call affordable luxury, and there has to be control over quality, but it should be made available to a lot of people.
Right.
So, for example, platforms like an Agio or a Tata Click or the Collective could be platforms that I could possibly look at. So we have been working on these thoughts, and we have been trying to work out further on fine tuning the detailing of the brand.
Sure. No, thanks.
Just jump to Aditya.
And I think we met before at one of the previous LWL sessions. So I'm glad that your journey is kind of evolving. I think like everybody said, you've got to kind of, now your narrative is fantastic. Now it's a question of what does that really mean in terms of what is the product that you're selling, to whom. But I think the biggest question that you have to ask yourself is, do you need to scale? Do you not need to scale? If you scale, then what would that look like? And so on and so forth. And I think that will kind of determine what kind of money you need, where are you going to put it, and so on and so forth, right? And part of that may be, taking on from what Sid was saying, are you going to expand your the way you are kind of presenting yourself, and so on and so forth. So I think that is what you should look at. And from there will fall out all of the operational sort of decisions that you have to make in terms of design to shelf, and the logistics, the inventory, whether you should be in marketplaces, not be in marketplaces, whether you should be in just completely your own sort of social channel, or would you set it on your site, etc. So these are important decisions to make, because you'll be up against some serious money coming in into this sector. And how do you kind of distinguish yourself from everybody else who's going to try to copy you, and how do you kind of sort of hold on to that very authentic narrative that you're trying to portray, right?
So I'm sorry.
No,
I thought you.
No, go ahead.
So I completely agree with both of you. I think my forte lies with prints, and if you've seen what I do a lot of very detailed prints, and they are prints that can't be copied. So I would want to keep that as the backbone of this brand as well, because this is an extension of what I do. I feel that this is very relevant right now. It's a relevant conversation on a very global level. And while we all strive for relevance in whatever we do, I feel that authenticity is a very important aspect of staying relevant. So in my eyes, keeping that language of the brand has to be consistent, which is what I plan to do. How we handle the prints, I want to understand that at a later stage, because as of now, there's no product. And I mean, while I do a lot of detailed print, I would like to do something simpler, which is more authentically, a statement of my brand. Quality has to stay, yes. And I feel that I want to be in the marketplace, but chosen marketplace, and make the product available on our own marketplace, and be on sites like Tata Click and the Collective and other such platforms.
So Nidha, actually, I in another part of my life, I sit on the board of Fab India, and I also used to run the entire online side of Fab India for a while.
Mm-hmm.
So some of these choices that you will make can either further your brand or your narrative, or can pose huge challenges to you when you are, because there'll be a lot of copycat products, and you will realize that while a lot of people will say the right things to you, when they actually are holding their credit card and they are swiping their card and buying the stuff, it takes a lot of work to get that point across to a customer, saying this is why you should buy me, and this is my whole story, and the whole authenticity of the narrative that you're holding on to. And it's difficult to do when you have a split second on a marketplace to decide between one brand and the other, because you're just scrolling. And building your own marketplace, building your own channel, has its pros and cons, has its certain, it requires a lot of money. So I think listing down what your, the link from the narrative to the product, to then what are the choices you have, what are the pros and cons, and what will be the money that will be required for it, is an important sort of thinking format, that framework that I would encourage you to kind of think through,
Right.
because then you'll have answers to a lot of the questions that people will ask you, and you might be facing yourself today, because
Right.
once you jump into the pool, then it's a very competitive pool out there. So but wish you all the best. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. Thank you, Nidha. That was really beautiful. We look
Thank
forward
you.
to seeing the next direction for you.
Yes. Thank you very much for all the guidance. This has been very helpful.
Thank you.
I will work on the next steps, and hopefully we'll meet again.
Definitely.
And
We have our last-
Anisha, we should, on behalf of Ladies Who Lead, we should thank Preeta for bringing in the youngest member
Yes,
of the audience.
Yes, and she's waiting for the next pitch. She has one of hers.
It's amazing. Thank you so
She
much,
wants
Preeta.
to listen. She's the next one in the
She's
making.
waiting for the
Watch
next
out for
pitch.
Aisha. Aisha,
Awesome.
will watch out for you.
And we're totally bringing Aisha to Sid, since
Okay.
it's very up his alley.
Awesome.
What, lavender aromatherapies or something. Yeah. Okay. Nobody wants to hear it. We'll get
Okay.
you.
We're gonna watch out for this one. I'm quickly gonna get in our next founder, Akanksha, who is the founder and CEO of A Curve Story. I've shared her deck with you right now on WhatsApp as well. Can we have Akanksha up, please?
Hi, good
There.
evening, everyone. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, you are. Go ahead.
So for anyone who hasn't had a chance to go through the deck, I'd just like to play a short scenario for you to get a better idea of what I exactly do at A Curve Story. Let's say you're back from a holiday and you had some great memories there. The memories have led to adding a few inches to your waist maybe. You go to a store trying to buy a new pair of pants, and you realize you need a size slightly bigger than the one you normally go for. You have this feeling that suddenly sets in, which is feeling a bit unhappy or inadequate. How do we get there? We get there because of all the stereotypes that the society has constantly thrown at us to kind of feel inadequate if we don't fit a certain box. Somebody who's curvy, you usually feels about what you felt is a fraction of what a person who's curvy usually ends up feeling, because they don't have as many options available in the market. They don't have enough justice done to what they'd like, and maybe the makers or the competition isn't paying as much attention to the consumer demand. A Curve Story is basically a clothing brand that's here to change that. We're body positive, we're inclusive, and we're here to kind of break stereotypes and constantly reaffirm that real is normal. The idea behind the brand is to have fashion be accessible, inclusive, as well as intersectional. I started my career as a styling assistant at 18, and through the 8 years that I was styling in Bollywood, the one thing that I constantly saw was people who were curvy feeling isolated and unhappy about their shopping decisions, either because of what they couldn't find in the market, or because of the attention that was paid in terms of details to the clothing. So what we do as a brand is manufacture and sell clothing that is fashionable, yet in an affordable price range, basically creating a shopping experience that is seamless enough for a customer leaving not just happy about the purchase, but also feeling better about themselves. How we try and do this is through our content across our sales channels, social media, as well as our own website that we have. We've, in comparison to everybody who spoke before, I'm a newbie. It's only the third year that we're getting into operations now. And without going too much into detail about the deck, I'd just like to come to our current position and then take you all through, the reason why we're looking at raising funding. COVID hit India when we were only 10 months of operations in, and we were just kind of getting a pulse of the market then. For us, COVID or a pandemic was in fact one of the best things to happen because people were spending so much more time on their phone that we were able to create a direct connection with our customers through this time. We took all our branding needs in-house. We created a strategy overnight, and we were able to scale up our community from a 1,500 community to today a 14,000 strong community. We've been able to do this by a bootstrapped effort throughout. And what we're looking at doing now is scaling production as well as reaching out to a vast audience, because there is a major gap when it comes to options available for curvy bodies as well as the LGBTQIA community. Like a lot of the points that Nidha actually brought up in the pitch earlier are so apt, because these are two segments that are kind of left isolated and looked past. These are the two communities that we look at catering to mainstream. However, because this is something we've seen two segments experience, we want to create a brand that has, where every body, every shape, and every person, no matter where they come from, feels welcome to come and shop from. The idea is not just to sell great clothing, but also also affect the self-esteem of a person positively. What we are looking at in terms of growth now is to build a brand that changes the face of inclusive fashion, both in India and globally. And we're looking at entering a couple of international markets. In terms of how we learned to pivot through COVID, we were able to kind of white label for other brands. We were able to kind of also host our brand on a couple of other marketplaces. However, the goal still remains to take our parent brand, A Curve Story, global. And I just wanted to come here and share the pitch and get some insight from everybody here who's from so much more experienced lands to just understand how best to take this forward.
Hi, Akanksha. This is thank you for the pitch. It's again, it's such a exciting space. And I think so I'd gone through your pitch a little bit earlier on, and I had done some homework in this area a few years ago, and two things that stuck out, and I don't think things have changed in that time frame, and so I'm just going to put it out there. And I think the reason I'm putting it out there is because I feel like I think you need to address them. When you're talking about it, because I think the issue is that there's a lacune that exists in what you're trying to provide, and if you can jump across that, I think that will prove that you can scale your business. One is that although the majority of a population of most countries probably could find use in the clothing that you're providing, they account for a very small portion of the spend on clothing in totality. And so the statistic that I had, and I was trying to find it, and it's a US statistics, Akanksha, but I think sorry, my battery is running out. I think it can be very much an Indian one as well. It's like 70% of women wear a size 12 or above or something in the US, but they account for like 10% of sales, which is crazy. It's a crazy disparity there. And the other one that I have always found, and I've tested this because I read it a long time ago, and I've seen myself, not myself, but I've watched this a little bit, I've talked to other people about it. There is a massive difference between the quality of shopping experience for someone who is buying a size, a smaller size than a larger size. And that exists both offline and online. And many times that's the reason why a sale is not closed. And so sorry.
No, she's there.
Are you still there?
Akanksha, I think we lost her for a minute.
It's something I said. So
No.
this happens to me.
Definitely.
Oh, this happens to me more often than not. This happens to me more often than not.
I'm so sorry, my battery just went off.
It wasn't anything you said.
That's okay. Anyway, I think, Akanksha, these two things have stuck in my mind for a very long time: the disparity in spends and the disparity in customer experience. Both things are solvable. Both things are solvable, and they're interconnected. And I feel like if you're able to bring that out in your business, I think it can go a very long way in making this more mainstream. Anyways, that was my 2 cents. Good luck.
Thank you so much.
Great space.
Hi,
sorry, I know we don't have enough time, but Akanksha, please message me offline. There's a lot I want to share with you.
I'm sorry, I can't help speaking. I'm so sorry.
Preeta,
oh yes, Preeta, sure, I'll do that.
There's so much that we can discuss and talk about, because we have lots of learnings from the label life, especially when we try to attempt to do. But your editorial is great, and your picture imagery looks great. There's lots to say. Sid, I have to tell you that internationally, the size graph is very trickily moving. So what used to be a size 8, they've happily started making it a size, they're changing size 10. So
okay. 10 or a 12 now.
Yeah, it's actually very silly. People who used to wear a size 10, basically they're sizing up, but making sure that the customer doesn't know.
Right. So, Akanksha,
it's sick, but
hi, Archana.
Hi. I have a hard stop at 7, so I'm just sorry to interrupt.
No worries.
So, I think what Sid made the point, I think the larger point in to sell well is always not to sort of point out the flaw, right? So nobody wants to buy a cheap car, nobody wants to buy a cheap dress, right?
Yeah.
Similarly, nobody wants to think they're fat, even if they're okay with their body weight, I think a lot of women, or a lot of men and women who have, extra weight, I don't think it matters to them so much all the time. But the way fashion has moved, you are body shamed. So like, I think what Sid said, the experience is so poor. The sales staff is likely to also say that to you, that, oh, you're too big, or we don't stock those sizes. So there's a lot of unpleasantness, and that, so at that time you do feel very, very unhappy about the shopping experience. So my 2 bits here is that if you focus on making the customer feel like king, which is really the advice for any customer facing business,
right.
I think you would be able to, and I think the addressing the fact that your customer is bigger in size has to be, handled very differently. So, I mean, it may not be what you may want to hear, but like sometimes it's better to call yourself something else, for example, so that it's not so front and center. I mean, look, if I'm okay with my body weight, I don't want to be reminded that I'm curvy and therefore sexier. I mean, how about that you're sexy anyway, and that there is no one definition of that? And I think that itself will take you to building a larger business, so being more sort of inclusive as opposed to being exclusionary in terms of who you're addressing your brand towards.
Correct. All right.
So that's what I would feel. I think the ultimate success of a brand is when they make you feel like $1 million.
Correct. Yes.
It doesn't matter then whether you're fat, ugly, short, whatever attributes that are negative in general.
Right. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Sorry, we'll just wrap this up quickly. I know Archana has to go and so does Sid. So it's left. So Parna, do you have any? What I'm hearing is that it's important what to name your brand. This is something we came across with even Mansi, Just Deliveries. I think the brand name holds.
But so the thing is that when you're very early in your journey, or even later, actually, don't worry too much about that name change. A lot of founders are very married and really are, in love with the name that they come up with, and that includes me as well. But it's okay. I mean, the idea is to build a big business. The idea is to, be there for the customer whose pain point you wanted to solve. And if that gets solved by making it, sound and calling it something else, it's fine.
Right. Thank you.
Savarna?
Hi, Akanksha.
Hi, Savanal.
I actually like your business model. I think there's definitely, a gap in the market that you're addressing, and there is an audience out there. And the challenge is going to be on executing, the value proposition that you are looking at delivering, to your audience. And I believe you're already inclusive when you're talking about, across, creating clothing across gender. So not just plus size women, but also other, communities. So it's interesting. And I think you need to think through how you're going to execute and kind of reach a larger audience, for the clothing that you're creating.
So like a little more emphasis on the business model, maybe.
Right.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. All the best.
Thank you.
Aditya?
Okay, well, look, Akanksha, I think I have a slightly different view. I think your brand positioning tells the customer straight away what you're doing, which is extremely important because you, again, like have a split second to catch their attention and figure out, whether this thing makes sense or not. So I wouldn't go out of my way to tell you to change your positioning, etc. You've got a huge addressable market which does not have enough offering. So if you're defining the market, you've got a product which people understand, yeah, that's for me.
Yeah.
Then you're a product-led company. Just go bang on product, right? Second is, if you are trying to scale up, then try to figure out where is that tipping point between being too design-led versus what you can produce at scale, fast, with great quality. Quality means size, color, and quality of fabric, right? And then delivery. So I would suggest you're not a niche brand, you're not a niche product, or rather you're not a niche product and you don't have to be a niche brand. And if you've got to scale up, you've got to kind of choose, okay, these are the 3-4 things I'm going to do well, and I'm going to just go put all my energy behind that. Right. If you try to start, making it too fine and too get caught up with that, there'll be this 2,000 things that you're going to be focusing on. In one sentence, the advice I'll give you is step back, look at your customer, look at your product, look at your business, and then see what is mission critical for me. What are the 4 or 5 things? If any of these 5 things break, I can have the best name, but my business is not going to move.
Right.
It's a similar thing that Mansi has to do, for example. What is mission critical for me every day, right? And then just focus on those 4-5 things, double down on those mission critical things, use a 90-10 rule, and be unapologetic about the 10 things that you're not going to do.
Correct. Yes.
Right? And have a reason for it. There's a reason why we did not have an oven on board in Indigo, and it took us 5 years before we served tea and coffee, right? And we were very unapologetic for it, because my thing was, I have to get the planes on time. I've got to make sure that I deliver lower fares. I've got to make sure that it is efficient, clean, squeaky clean, great service. उसके बाद आप complain कर सकते हैं कि यार मुझे सुबह राजमा चावल चाहिए, and that also but you know what? That's not what the customer is paying.
Correct. Yes.
Right? Knowing what the customer is paying you for and being very direct about it is something I think you're getting to. So we should.
All right. Thank you so much.
Pleasure. Anisha, you're on mute this time. I get to say that.
You got me on that, but it's not very often that happens. But anybody else has any feedback or questions for Akanksha? I know we've run a little bit over time, but we could quickly address anything that anyone has to bring up. Any of the senior founders? I know Preeta had her point. I think that was crystal clear to everybody. I think.
Well, first of all, I think thanks to everybody. I mean, these 2 hours just flew by. This has been so interesting to all the people, just all the folks who pitched, the senior founders who lent in the credibility by attending, the investors who had very great questions, and the audience that remained so engaged. So Anisha, just gives people like you and me at LWL the encouragement that we're doing something right, I think.
Absolutely. You just said it.
Hey, Vivek, do you want to? Do you want to give your?
Well, I mean, I'm still trying to figure out why I'm called a senior founder amongst this august group of people. But no, listen, all very interesting pitches. But I read somewhere the other day that entrepreneurs have to sell a dream. And have to be salesmen, and no business is a reality till it becomes one. So till such time you have to be almost a little delusional and go for it and believe in what you're doing. And I think our small experience, small thing to share from my experience is that be ready to listen to ideas, be open to them, and ready to pivot when you think it's needed. But otherwise, I think it's very important to stick to your vision and blinders on and execute. It's not always an easy journey, but I've been told that there's a reward at the end of there is light at the end of the tunnel. So grit and perseverance are the 2 words that keeps us going as business owners. So great to see this panel and these founders getting ready and started on this journey, and wish them all the very best.
Thank you so much, Vivek. I don't think we have any questions. We can wrap this up. There's nothing come up in the chat, so we'll wrap this up. Thank you so much, everyone, for taking time out to listen, for our investors for listening, senior founders for providing your valuable feedback, because you guys have been on this journey. And thank you for the ones who pitched. It was really interesting, and we hope to see you guys again and have some exciting news from you soon.
Thanks very much for doing this.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.